Well, let's get started. I want to honor all of your times. I'm really excited. I've been able to collect all of these really amazing people and wish to make the scene a little bit more diverse. My name is Fatima. I am a DJ and producer, originally from Mexico. I live in the US. I founded Sisters in Sound actually in New York a few years ago. It had a different name. And we started with workshops, open decks, we've done showcases and such, and now we're international. We have DJs in New York, of course, in Washington, D.C., in Miami, and in Mexico, even some in Europe. So we're building the army, and we're so happy to have you all participating. I will now present to you DJ Flavia, my colleague at Sisters in Sound. She has over 11 years of experience producing Brazilian and Latin folkloric music. She's also taught production and DJing to women both in Brazil and in New York, and now she's restarting her efforts in NYC. So definitely touch base with her for more events like this. I'll hand over the virtual / in-person mic to her so she can introduce our partner, SoundCollective.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to those dropping in now. Thank you, Fatima, for the introduction. So I will introduce SoundCollective. We have Raul Hidalgo. And Raul, like I, is also a DJ. And we have like over 10 years experience. We met at Scratch DJ Academy like in maybe 2010 or 11.
It's been a while.
Have been working with educational projects in Latin America.
Currently, I'm here at SoundCollective. I just want to thank everyone for coming tonight, and also want to thank Sisters in Sounds for hosting this event in conjunction with SoundCollective, and we just want to open the space to everyone. We also believe that in the diversity in the music space. So definitely thank you so much for being here. I hope you guys get a look at our facility and kind of inquire about what we have to offer. We want to open up the space for the community, so we're here for you.
Thanks,
Thank
Raul.
you so much. So I'll just give you a quick overview of what we're going to do today. I'm going to have each panelist going to introduce you, and then have you each kind of just very briefly go over, what your role is and how you arrived at the position that you're in today, whether you're an event producer, in PR, a booker, etc. And then I'll ask you a few questions, and then we'll have some time for open Q&A from our audience in person and our virtual audience as well. So we'll finish up in an hour, and we'll honor your time. So to get started alphabetically, I'd like to introduce Ariana Danier. Ariana is the resident and founder of REBELLE, an emerging inclusivity-focused underground dance party, which began in 2019 with a party series at Jupiter Disco in Brooklyn. She's worked in the bookings department of different clubs along the East Coast, including the Brooklyn Mirage and Avant Garner and Flash in Washington, D.C. She has booked over 175 shows a year. Very impressive. Thank you, Ariana. Asilai began her sonic journey as a wedding DJ in Key West, Florida. She now produces events for Ecstatic Dance NYC, Dance Beyond Festival, and Junction. Lainey Green is the president of the Greenhouse Management and Public Relations firm. She's a former NYC promoter for such legendary venues as Limelight, Tunnel, and Palladium. She founded the Aurelia Group in 2002, which was the first of its kind in North America, concentrating in online marketing, social networking, and sponsorship for electronic and dance music. Daniela is a trained pianist since she was 3 years old. She has over 20 years of experience playing music around the globe. She founded the New York-based collective Deep Playa, a community that seeks to spread love and childish innocence through music and dance, as well as the After Hours series, Her Name is Shakti, which showcases women identifying artists in New York. So let's get started in alphabetical order as we did before. Ariana, if you could give us an overview of your role and how you got to where you are today.
Everybody. Thanks for the intro, Fatima. Thanks to Sisters in Sound for having me in the SoundCollective. I'm happy to be here to support the community in any way I can. As Fatima said, my name's Ariana Danier. I got started in this industry as a music lover, then a DJ, and now I'm grateful to be booking shows pretty regularly. I currently am a buyer for Flash in Washington, D.C. Yeah. So that's my background.
How did you get to that position, Ariana? From because you're also a DJ, right? How did you get from that position to kind of working with big artists, bringing them out? You know, those are big venues. Avant Gardner and the Mirage and Flash also is renowned in the country.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the important thing about this industry is relationships, which is the number one thing. You know, you got to go out and make relationships with people, honest and true relationships, and just be true to who you are, and good opportunities will come your way. And so I was fortunate enough to, you know, just be a music lover and work under the main buyer at Flash. That was my first buying gig. Shout out to Navid. Yeah, I think you know, you just gotta have the relationships and have the love and the work effort behind that, and the good people will notice what you're doing, because these are jobs that I didn't seek out; they sought me out. And I think that that's the key, because if you go barking up people's tree, you know, it's not as valuable as when people come seek you out. So I just kind of did my thing, and I started my own party, as Fatima said, because I saw a hole in the market, and I wanted to do something different that nobody else did, and the right people saw that. So I ended up where I am today.
Beautiful. Thank you, Ariana, for sharing. Asalai, can you please let us know a little bit about your journey and how you arrived where you are today?
Hello, everyone. My name is Asalai. I moved to the United States 5 years ago from Kazakhstan. My first place that I landed was, I was lucky enough that it was Key West, Florida. Yeah, I have never been into music industry. I've never been any type of into any musical instruments, or I was only singing when I was young. But first event that I attended ever in my life, like in the festival scene, was Burning Man, and it was my first ever event, and that inspired me a lot to bring back to my community in Key West. That's where I started working towards in the music, because it is like a wedding with wedding destination, so it is a lot of weddings happening. I thought that it will help me a lot to become an artist. And I was also hosting roller disco parties and ecstatic dance Key West, and then slowly I started having relationships with other festivals, just because I was just attending them and volunteering. A lot of volunteering hours have helped definitely to build relationships in the community and in this industry. Yeah.
Thank you. Absolutely. That's a great point. It's something that we tell our sisters a lot, to volunteer and show support, right? You know, if you want to get booked and you want to, you know, go to these places and be noticed, you know, the best way to get noticed is by helping, by, you know, letting people see your face, be visible, and contributing to those events and those collectives. So Daniela, can you please speak a little bit on your experience?
Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for organizing this, Fatima. Can I just start by saying, Asalai, that is amazing that your first festival was Burning Man. I cannot wait to learn more about that. And second, roller disco, please, in New York. I'm like all about it. This is like my childhood dream come true. Like an all night roller disco rage, like rager. So you know, I started Deep Playa NYC in the midst of the pandemic because people were going to party indoors and spread COVID. So my ex and myself at the time, we were sick of Zoom dance parties. And we were like, how can we make gather people together in a safe way to do what we love, something that's ancient, dancing. And so we started actually throwing renegades, like large scale, up to 1,000 person renegades. And that's how we got our start. And during a really painful time when people were really isolated. And at the time, we didn't know what was going to happen. We were just like, we need to be outside and, be safe, but also we want to dance. And by the second party, we had like a couple hundred people, and it was like July 2020. We were like, oh gosh, what is going to happen to us? Or, we were afraid of like getting arrested and things like this. Nothing ever happened. And the community grew and grew. We started doing micro burns, and for up to 150 people. We started a Burning Man camp. Now have a sound stage on the beach at Loveburn next week. So it's been an incredible journey, and I really could not have dreamt of how this was going to develop. And I also think that leads me to one of my kind of pieces of advice is to, if you have a certain outcome or a goal in your mind, that's great. Put it out there and then let it go and see how you can kind of do a trust fall a little bit into the universe and see how the universe will deliver, like, 1,000 times whatever goal or outcome that you put out there. So, and then the other, I'll wrap it up by talking about Shakti. I was meditating in the springtime, and I was like, what the question that I kind of was meditating on was, what should be my next project? How can I be of service? How can I be more of service to the community? And literally just got a download, start a party that showcases women talent. It was like, bing. I was like, great. Okay. And it was like, and call it, her name is Shakti. I was like, thank you. Okay. So that's how I started that. And, it's been really, really wonderful to make all these wonderful, beautiful connections and help to elevate women.
Beautiful. Thank you. What you said about, envisioning the goals and then kind of just setting them aside, it reminds me a lot of, I try to live by it, but it's really difficult not having expectations. So you can still have goals, you can have visions, you can have motivation, but not imposing an expectation on what you think things should be, what they should look like. And when you kind of move in that way, you're open to kind of handling things a little bit better, to seeing opportunities where normally maybe you wouldn't have noticed them. So I think it's a little bit of what you were saying. Thank you, Daniela. So Lainey, you're up. If you could tell us a little bit about your life story.
You don't have enough time, girl. I, from what I gather, I am the elder statesman in here, and I am starting to ease into that role now. And at this point in time in my life, I was a club kid in the 90s, and that evolved. We were the wild, wild west, and we just figured it out. Goals. We were just trying to not get arrested. We were throwing parties in the back of literally U-Hauls and driving through the streets of Manhattan with sound systems that were probably not as secure as they should have been, but from these situations grew some iconic events. So my partner, who's no longer with us, Alex Ohm, started the Ultra Music Festival, and that idea came together in literally like the conversations that you would have meeting somebody by a bass bin. And I think that's incredible that such huge ideas come from these simple meetings. Like Ariana, you're at Flash in DC. That's so right. Palash Ahmed was the first owner. He was my DJ in DC when we used to do like Buzz Life.
Oh my God. If I could turn back time and go to the Buzz parties, I would.
Yeah. So I was at Nation at Buzz because there was such a small group of people around the country, and we were all trying to support each other in any way that we could just to make our, parts of our universe work. We all knew each other. Now it's grown so much that I know none of you, but I want to know all of you because this is incredible. This is the most amount of women I see like working together now. And we have group chats that are led by agency heads that would have never happened 20 years ago. And I'm just super excited that you're all here. And we don't need to know too much about me. Just know I get you guys money. Now that's all I do.
Beautiful.
I pump money into this. I am the Robin Hood of DJs. I steal from rich corporations. I give to poor DJs. That's what I do.
I love it. I love it. I mean, the more
Amen to
I'm
that.
kind of learning about these things, the more I realize like it is a little bit imbalanced in the sense of the people that have the money to invest, right? They can invest in, marketing. They can invest in getting writers on their music. They can invest in certain placements and things. So, any way we can kind of balance the playing field a little bit. Flavia, I'll give you an opportunity as well if you wanted to share anything about your journey as a DJ producer.
Sure. I started just as like, I need to do this. Like, I need to learn how to DJ. And it was a struggle to learn because I didn't know that there were like schools out there. I found a school and that's how I learned when I lived in New York. But I knew at like age 12 that I wanted to DJ. And then at that age and time, I didn't have like any references or mentors. And so I just kind of had to like party my way through all the teenage years and try to talk to DJs. And it wasn't until I was like 19 that I started learning, and I went to a DJ school and I could like pay for it because I had a job and I was here in New York City. And that was Scratch DJ Academy. And so that like changed my life because I think there's like a big difference from when you're attending events and parties and spaces to when you're like working in them. And then what's your role in the space? I knew that my role was to be working with the sound. So that was like how I got started. And then that started a whole other journey of like just learning the technical skills, but also like researching and learning and growing with sound and genres because I had come from like a multicultural background. I'm like half Brazilian and half American. So in 2012, I moved to Sao Paulo from New York. So I had already been DJing a few years, and then Sao Paulo like is a totally different culture and like sound. So I started exploring that there and the DJ scenes and the DJ culture, and just have been going with the flow. The production started out of like necessity of like, I need to edit these songs to put like a beat on them so that I can play them in my DJ sets. Like especially a lot of Brazilian music that I really liked down in Brazil. So I started doing that, and like out of just like, I want to add this to my set so it can be a little more dancey. And I had fun with it. I put it on SoundCloud. And then like a couple years later, I realized like how like powerful these tools are. Like, first of all, you can just edit music, and second, you can put it on SoundCloud. It's honestly what kept me in Brazil for so long. I stayed in Brazil till the pandemic. I just came back like recently, back to New York. But it kept me down there because other DJs and event producers in different areas of Brazil were like connecting to me through the SoundCloud, like these Brazilian music parties that liked playing remixes. And it's like a kind of like a trend that has been happening. So there's a lot of DJs, producers that have been doing it there, taking like the older music and adding beats to it and making it like better for dance floors. So I became part of this like movement out of just like me just enjoying to do it. And it's continuing to grow more and more. It's like happening all over Europe. There's a lot of producers taking Brazilian music and remixing or editing it or sampling it. So anyways, it's just interesting because I did it just because I like to do it, and then ended up being all that. But also like kind of realized like the power of all these tools and like what you decide to do with them, you know, what's the intention behind it. I was kind of like, oh, I just really love these sounds. Like I feel them, like I feel some type of connection to them, and like I feel like this groove dance in them. And like as like a just an artistic expression, I guess.
Perfect.
But then it has some type of result. It goes somewhere.
Yeah, your music is really beautiful. It's like world and instrumental. Well, thank you, Flavia. I'm going to ask maybe one or two questions, and then I'll open it up to the audience because I'm sure you all must have questions for our panelists. But I think to get to the nitty gritty, and I know Lainey just wrote something about ADE. What are some, tips, events, skills, any information that you can offer to, women identifying and other artists in the field to, make connections, make those relationships that are important? Anyone's open to answer.
I mean, I'll take a stab at it only because, like, coming from the public relations space, I think that it's really important to have your one sheet ready for anybody. Like, just have it on your phone, like not even a link. If you have the link, that's great too, but be ready to drop that on a dime to anybody, and always have that 10-second elevator pitch ready for whatever your goal is or whatever you're trying to accomplish, because sometimes people don't hear the entire idea, but they will remember 10 seconds of it. So if we're talking about, whether it's flash or whether it's about your, the music that you're doing, or even like the events that you're doing, with, the young lady with Burning Man, bringing it back to Key West, at some point in time, I will get in front of an executive at Absolute, or I will get in front of an executive from, JetBlue. They don't have time for anything other than to hear, what is it? How do I pay for it? What am I getting in return on our investment? And so I have to be very succinct about those ideas. Hone your message. That includes, and I'll ask Ariana, when you're, seeking talent to book, is it just, are you searching for talent and discovering, or people pitching you?
I think it's a mixture of both. I think that people ask me all the time, Ariana, how do I get booked? How do I get booked? And
right.
The truth is just make and play good freaking music. That's it, And I'm definitely somebody who focuses on making sure everything's equal. Okay, that's, women, femme identifying, LGBTQ, POC, that's really important to me because, cis white male, they got the lock on the market already. So I think it's important to have diversity when I'm looking for artists, but also I'm not going to book someone just because of that reason. They need to be uniquely themselves and express that through the music they play and produce. That's like, and it's hard to quantify that. It's more of like a feeling, an intuition feeling, like, and I would hear it through the mixes they play, or if I go see them, I'm constantly searching, constantly going to shows, listening to SoundCloud sets, Mixcloud sets, listening to the radio, meeting people. And I guess the way that I approach booking talent in general is I started out as an actress, so I'm really big on storytelling. So when I'm putting together a lineup, I want the story to have a beginning, a middle, and an end, right? So opener, support, headliner, and that's the way that I approach it. And immediately, when I meet someone, I'm like, all right, I can imagine them doing this slot, playing with this artist, But also it's important to hear what they want to do as well. So it's a lot of things you have to take into consideration.
I mean, I will add into that. Please do not ever send me a bio that compares you to 15 other artists and never tells me about yourself.
Boom.
That is like my nightmare. Is like, I sound like everybody, including Avicii, and I have no idea who you are, or world-renowned DJ, or, those words make me cringe because they're just so like overused. I want to know that, you you fell off your bike when you were 5, hit your head, and suddenly you wrote your first sonata. Like, let's get something interesting, grab me as a storyteller and bring me in, because that's what I'm going to be using in my marketing materials to also pitch, you know, whether it's like something like Ariana, like booking, or to sponsor. So, you know, make it always interesting. Tell us the real story about you. You don't have to be like everybody else. There's not like this cookie cutter bio, a cookie cutter story that everybody wants to hear.
I agree. And just to piggyback off of that beautiful statement, I think it was Miles Davis that said, don't play what's there, play what's not there. And there's nobody better in this entire universe at being you. And that is the most special thing. You have to be you. Don't compare yourself to Avicii or Tiesto. You know, there's only one you. And, you know, spread that message through your music. That's what I like to look for.
I love that.
Beautiful. Yeah, I wrote that down actually. That's Miles Davis. That's gorgeous.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so kind of piggybacking a little bit off of what you both were discussing. Show me, don't tell me, right? You know, don't be like world-renowned DJ, you know, show me why you're a world-renowned DJ. And also, you know, you had said you have to make the elevator pitch. I think it's important that you know, demonstrate your value when you're making the pitch, right? Because at the end of the day, it's a business. And, you know, if you can say, I can bring out this many people, you know, I can do this at the bar, I can get, you know, coverage here, whatever, you know, think about the kind of value you can demonstrate to someone who is running a business, because at the end of the day, it's a business. And if they're shelling out to pay you your fee and, you know, sometimes even taking a risk if they don't know you, you know, you have to demonstrate where your value is. Or, you know, another tool you can use is also kind of have legitimacy in some way, whether that's press, whether that's a contact that maybe knows this person that they work with. That's another way of kind of giving you a little bit more legitimacy, demonstrating your value in that way, if you don't, you know, necessarily have a dollars and cents kind of breakdown of what you're able to do. Is there anyone else that wants to kind of add anything?
I would love to hear, Daniela, like how you went into this pandemic, like deciding I'm going to still do this, because that is just old school, hardcore New York City, like fortuitiveness. Like, I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to do it.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Lainey. I learned to DJ like a really long time ago, but I don't know. It was kind of like, I was like 20, 21 maybe. And then I said goodbye to that whole, and I obviously had played music and all that, but on the piano. But then I just said goodbye to that whole, like, I was like, okay, now I'm going to have like a real career. I became a professor, then like lived in many different places. So I kind of like closed that chapter of my life for a long time before coming back to it. And so I also just saw like, I still continue to see what we're doing as like, in the beginning, especially, I was like, this to me is like a public service that we're providing a safe place for people to gather and dance. And we have never taken a dime from any of the donations or tickets that we've sold when we did indoor events, for example. We've done like 3 in the past like year or so. So everything went into purchasing infrastructure, purchasing sound equipment, everything. But yeah, and more and more, it is a labor of love. It's really hard to do because every event, it takes us like a 20-foot box truck to fit everything in there, and like a crew of like 40 people to put on something that's like 100% illegal. So, you know, but the point I'm trying to make is that I also see it as like, I don't know, kind of like sticking it to the man, which is the whole essence of Burning Man too, but also like,
hell yeah,
you know, I'll never forget like all of our favorite places shutting down in the early 2000s, and then just the landscape completely changing, and New York becoming more of a police state, and being able to find ways for us to use our public spaces that we pay for things other than what people in suits have designated them for. And I completely recognize that it is also, we're very much taking advantage of white privilege, for sure. And, but I'm happy we're able to do that at the very least in that regard. So I'm not sure if I fully answered your question, but, and I have
not even close, but we're here. But it's okay. We're here. We're having a conversation. Now, I mean, as far as what you're doing right now, I'm really interested in like how you see it moving forward, because, you know, at some point in time, we all have picked up, you know, and go, we kind of have to legitimize this.
Yes.
We got to get the insurance.
Yeah, it's a great
to make sure that no one gets hurt. And if they do, we have a plan. And I hate to be the business person here. I'm going to do it because been there. We've been screwed. So I'm going to insist that you all get liability insurance. Spend the money on it every time.
That we have. Yeah, we do have liability insurance for one, but I don't know how that works and the things that we're doing. But it's a great question. We've had a few different talks about, hey, where is this headed and what do we actually want to do? So for me and my partner, I know that we want to have not a club. We never saw ourselves as that, but have a place upstate where we can host these kind of events, live on the property, and also create a space for art actually on the land. So it also is
grid. I like it.
Yeah, so it's also like a place of discovery
happening. Like, let's get to it.
Yeah, so that's one of the visions, I think. But having something that travels too would be really, really awesome. Not just, I want to serve the community, and this is my home, but I also want to find a way to work with other communities around the world to put these things on.
So out of everybody that's here, though, does everybody have a company yet? Like, have you all registered yourselves, LLCs, S Corps, all this kind of stuff? Because since we are in Sound Collective and this is an educational space, I don't know of how many DJs and producers I run into, at least in the early parts of their career, that don't realize how to protect yourselves legally, you know, and also start things that are going to make financial sense for yourselves in the future. I hate to be that person, like the mom in the room.
But we need, you know, people to bring us that information. Absolutely. I mean, honestly, I'd be down to have a follow-up with you, you know, maybe a guide, kind of a quick guide. I just wanted to check in because I have more questions, but I'm going to allow some time for people to ask. Are people in the Zoom able to ask questions? Like, is the chat accessible to all of you? I'm going to check right now. Raise your hand if you'd like to speak. If anyone has a question, let me know. Just raise your hand. I think I can allow you to talk because I'm not sure if the chat's working. But Fabia, are there any questions in person that we would like to ask our panelists?
There's a question I have because I just like to know more about experiences too. What's something after an experience you've had, maybe something that you wish you knew when you were just starting? You want to start, Ariana?
Yeah, I'll start. I'll start from the DJ perspective. So I think that something that I wish I knew when I first started, and this is a lesson that a lot of people have to learn the hard way, is, okay, you went to the parties that you want to play. You met the promoters. They gave you a support slot. Don't play like you're the headliner. I've been there. I've done that. Play your set time. That's if I could, turn back time, maybe I would have gotten somewhere a little faster as a DJ. But I think, that's the key is think about it from the promoter's perspective. If you're playing the support spot, play a damn good support set. Make yourself really unique, but know your set time. And from a promoter's perspective as well, that's something I see a lot with, budding artists and musicians and DJs. I think that's would be key advice if I could turn back time, But not to toot my own horn, now I've supported a lot of bigger artists, Dixon, DJ Harvey, Bonobo, Book of Shade. They're like really big artists, and I feel like I learned that hard lesson. But I grew from it, so you can always grow. But I would say that's right. Wouldn't you say?
I'll expand on that because I agree. I personally like starting warm-up sets at 90 BPM and building because it's like such a beautiful like journey to be able to take people on. But I personally go into every set like it's a game changer and like it's memorable. So that means not just being professional and prepared and, knowing who's playing before you, who's playing after you. You don't want to leave them at 130 BPM, if they're more of a progressive kind of style. But I do think you shouldn't be super hyper concerned about the other person and what they're going to do. In a sense, you should absolutely try to do your best, even if it's a room with one person, two people. Make it a memorable set and definitely do your best in that sense. You don't want to go crazy. I guess it's a balance you kind of have to strike, but it's something that I'm learning now, that it's like, if I'm opening for someone, I pay respect to them, but it's like I'm doing me, I'm actually, and that's why I'm good at it as well, the warm up, because I can create a stage for them. I could set them up in a really good way, but it's still, something that I'm trying to kind of make memorable and always, make it a set that people will enjoy and, they'll remember and they'll talk about. So
yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go for it.
I was just going to say, if I could chime in, I agree. It's so personal. But I think that in order to keep getting booked, and this is coming from a promoter perspective, you have to take into consideration who's playing after you. Like, be yourself. Be yourself. Be uniquely you. Play the tracks you want to play, but it's a story. Are you going to slay the dragon, or are you starting out in the enchanted forest? That's the way I see it. And I mean, not to make it all about stories, but I think it's very personal. As Fatima said, it's very, very personal. And that's what makes us all different as artists and musicians. We all can have different perspectives, but I mean, I agree with what you said. I think it's important to be yourself and play the best set, even if it's just for one person. Make that person remember that you crushed that set. I can't wait to go see Fatima play again, Yeah.
Yeah, I think it also depends a lot on like the scene, like the space itself and the scene.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm exactly what you're saying. I went back to Brazil in January, and I was DJing in a bunch of different spaces, but I realized like my style has changed a lot. I went back to some of these older spaces that I played like a long time ago, and now I have like a little like faster BPM, a little more electronic vibe, and back then I was way more organic and like lower BPM. And one of the spaces I was opening, because that's what I used to do there, but I went a little too hard, and I realized that after. I was like, oh, it's just because I'm used to this now. But then in the other space, which I wasn't even like ready for before, they put me like right before the headliner, and I went like all in, and it was perfect. It's just different. It really depends on like the time, the space, all that stuff. But also I realized like moving forward, I need to say no to some of the older venues because I've moved on. It's like that's my role, to like say no to some stuff now and leave space for like where I'm moving towards with sound, which is also
a really good point.
That's
Absolutely,
beautiful.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
And also not being afraid to, I mean, if you don't know the venue and you don't have the opportunity to maybe go there, don't be afraid to be like, what's the vibe like? What do people generally come to see? Ask them, just so you kind of are aware and you can tailor a little bit. But anyone else, would they like to share something that they wish that they knew when they first started out?
I can share a little bit. Listening to all of your stories, I am so honored to be with all of your professional girls, women in this business. probably I'm like the least experienced one in here, but I'm working my way out, and I am definitely very, very considering myself lucky person that in such a short time in New York City, in like a year and 2 months that I've lived here, I'm a part of so many big and amazing communities. Shout out to Mike Tumalo, who accepted me and brought me into his his productions that I'm part of now. Yeah, but the things that I knew, wish I knew when I started DJing, I was very, very, how to say, like really confident in what I was doing, knowing nothing at that time, because it was no electronic music, like no house music was happening in Key West. It was all Jimmy Buffett. Yeah, it was all Jimmy Buffett, 5 o'clock and somewhere type of music. So definitely to be coming to all the hotels, big hotel chains and little clubs here and there, I was definitely very confident, and I didn't know nothing that I was doing, but my confidence showed people, and they were feeling really comfortable in my space because I was curating the night and their night, how they were having a great time. And yeah, I was just like, now I wish I had that confidence back in DJ, because I lost that when I moved here, seeing so many professionals. I was like, okay, this is a different game now. I need to shade my old things and like bring something new. That's why I started working in more production and just surround myself with a lot of artists and visionaries and creativities, even living with them, like in my home, like we are all DJs and healers and artists, like living with more artistic people definitely helps now. Yeah. But yeah, being more confident in what we do is the key, I think.
I think also it's important to, we talk a lot about relationship building people maybe vertically to us, but I think it's extremely important to, have linkages with our colleagues and people horizontal to us, because in everyone's case, we then become the people that make we produce the events, we become the booking agents. So, extending your network in that kind of way with different crews, different collectives, people that maybe you can connect with and link with that aren't necessarily vertical, but can turn out to, do big things, and they'll remember you. Daniela, you have your hand raised?
Yeah, and I think someone in one of our attendees also has her hand raised, but I wanted to follow up and ask Lily's comment of being calm, cool, and confident, and just maintaining a steady flow of energy is really, really important. Like give space, take space, but don't make yourself small, because everyone, sorry, especially like dudes, want to take the spotlight. Don't let them do that. Like you have to push back to establish your boundaries and like stand firm. So I wish I kept on putting people in front of me or spotlighting people when I should have taken up more space. I was always like kind of like supporting other folks and never putting myself in the spotlight. And then I was like, it's okay to put myself in the spotlight sometimes, to share it. So yeah.
Absolutely. Monique, I believe you can speak now if you unmute yourself. There you go. Go for it.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, hey guys. Well, first, I just want to thank you guys for hosting this. This has really been like super informative. And I guess for me, like, leaning in on your resources as far as, I play a lot of different type of music, and sometimes I find myself not being able to fit into a certain box as far as just house or just hip hop, because I want to be able to kind of bring and bridge all these different communities. So I guess what's the best way, other ways to kind of create that I don't know if I'm articulating this right, but the best way to continue or to allow open spaces without like boxing yourself in, if I'm making sense.
Can I jump in for that? Okay, so interestingly, there are a lot of really big techno DJs who came from hip hop. Dubfire being one of them. He used to play exclusively hip hop before he got into progressive and then techno. I'm going to say this because it's honest. Go to more events and clubs with people of color, and you will find a bigger variety of music that spans from house to trap to hip hop and everything. I find that when I go to commercial EDM clubs, it is very one note lately. It is not, there's no diversity and flavor, and that needs to change because they are not taking in a community, a nightlife community as a whole. And we used to have at Tunnel and Limelight 10 rooms. I could walk into one room and listen to drum and bass. I could walk into the hallway. It would be straight up vocal diva house because the boys, were doing a boys' night in there. And it was great. I don't see that same thing now. So you're going to have to search out, especially as a diverse DJ, because there might be multiple communities that, you vibe with, but people will hear about you. And you can always throw in something into the mix when you're DJing that's interesting that maybe that crowd didn't expect. I love going to see Little Louis Vega always, Teneglia always, Morales always, like all of these people that bring everything from soul to, deep, deep house. Celebrate the fact that you have more interesting taste than most people. And I would love to come hear you. So throw in the comments where you're playing. I'll be in New York in May. Support. And I buy tickets. I stopped asking for comps a long time ago. I have no time for that.
I love it.
I have a suggestion too with that, because I'm the same. I started off and people were pressuring me to choose hip hop and house. I was like, I love hip hop, house, and reggaeton equally, and other genres. I can't choose. 12 years later, I still can't choose. So I started remixing. That made a big difference. I really recommend remixing, because you could take one song, you can make a hip hop version, a reggaeton version, a house version, release them all under the same name or separate names. For your own sets. Put them in your sets, and then what you're doing is you're creating space and more connections. So other DJs are going to want to play that because you're helping them for their sets. And then when those DJs start organizing parties, they're going to call you to DJ. That's exactly what happened to me in Brazil. And then I was like, wow, this is cool. The people will find you after that to play.
I'll also tell you, all great advice, but if you're not seeing kind of the scene that you want, do your own thing, honestly. And I know it's a lot of work, and I'm not saying, come throw a festival, right off the bat. But if you have, a little crowd of fans, which you do, Monique, you're incredible. If you have a little crew that's behind you, and there's a bar that you particularly like, or an event space, or whatever, a park, go to whoever's running them and tell them, I have a little crew behind me. We could come on Tuesdays and start this style of music and, start to build something if you don't see it. Make the opportunity for yourself, because that's what men have been doing forever. And it's beautiful, that I'm able to invite these women to come speak that have been doing this, but we need more of us kind of leading the charge in these different areas.
Yes, thank you guys so much. You just gave me so much energy.
Nice. Do we have any questions in person at SoundCollective? Anyone in the audience?
So one of my gay friends said they want more women DJs because they're tired of hearing the men talk over the song, literally. And I said, yeah, you're right. That's when I bumped into this place. So it's all about energy. And if the energy is right, I think 5 years from now, it will be all about location. The location is what's up. The character is what's up. Being authentically real, raw, honest, without hiding who you are as women. Because I've realized I used to always have what women lack. I would just feel their energy and I could read them. And as I'm reading them, I can write a song, and I can have my own beat. And I'm a writer. So if you're a great writer and a storyteller, you can always have the beat. I could be in a room with 1,000 people and fill their aura, and I could come up with this one, next. But who's a great mentor and a teacher for that? Without me investing my time and my energy and wasting my money. Because you can have the money, but do you have the talent? There's a difference between being talented and gifted. And when you have a little bit of autism, you see things at least 20, 30 years from now. It's a gift. So if I could say, there's no accident with us being here. Her name automatically is a sunchild name. That's energy in itself. So when you look at names and you look them up and you see the meanings of them, you know you're in the right space. It just takes the right teacher that has patience, time, and have that love and compassion. I believe in making passive, passionate money. So if I'm making passive, passionate money, then I'm making passive, passionate beats. And if I'm making good beats with music, that's my swag. So who's going to top me? Because I'm my own challenger. I'm going to compete against myself. I don't care if I'm around 1 million people. They can think what they want to think. Give them what they think. Because you have to learn how to cater to your audience. If I can draw you in, that's my money, that's my bank. That's just what it is. Music will always sell. From the time he took music out of school, I was mad. So I just started writing in my room and writing. And now I'm ready to make beats. Switch it up. That's easy. But again, people have to be comfortable in their own skin in order to do that. Because then you're not going to feel comfortable. And if you're not going to feel comfortable, you're not going to sell shit. And that's just what it is. So let's get that chicken.
Thank you. Anyone else? I know we have a question. I think Lainey's answering. It says, what is the process like for getting a booking agent? Do they usually come to the artist? I know Ariana spoke a little bit about that. Sometimes she does some research. Sometimes people approach her. I don't know, Lainey, if you want to share what you're responding. Oh, wait, you're muted.
My answer was most of the time showcases, or, like those opening sets we were talking about, like, there's constantly going to be the agent for somebody else that's in the room. So they're always looking for the new talent. They're looking for how the crowd reacts to them. The bigger agencies, they're poaching other people's people, usually, at least my friends. Some of the bigger ones it's like a whole coaching scenario. I will say Mariana Bo, who I love, who's she's from Mexico, fantastic DJ. She's a little bit more hardcore rock and roll kind of DJ. She was on our networking panel in Amsterdam. She got picked up by an agency because of the networking that she did there. You have to be where the business is. So just going around to the clubs is nice if you want to meet promoters that are local to you. But there are some key events that are around the US and abroad that are necessary for DJs if you want to work on an actual global scale and then you want to make this your business. So IMS in Ibiza is definitely a stop if you want to do that. Obviously, Amsterdam Dance Event. I think Midem is coming back. That's more for producers. But there's also SXM, which will be taking place in St. Martin in a few weeks. This is where the industry goes. I wouldn't say so much, last weekend with the Grammys. That's more for established artists. That's not really a discovery zone. Talk to, also the magazines. I mean, we're still doing boiler rooms. We're still doing, live events with DJ Mag, Mix Mag, and RA. Get in there. See where you could fill time. Beatport always does showcases. Fill time. Get yourself out there and then utilize your social media to always amplify. And it costs nothing to repost your friends. I cannot tell you how many people say, I love you, I support you, I'm in your comments, but do not repost their friends. That is the biggest hurtful thing I've seen for each other. It's up for 24 hours. You could take it down afterward if you don't want to kill the aesthetic of your timeline. Support your friends, you know, especially marginalized friends. I mean, he, she, they is probably one of the biggest brands right now when it comes to, you know, any DJ brand. And it's because of the support that they've gotten from so many different kinds of communities. And what Stephen Brains and Sophie have done are amazing. Support each other. If your cousin isn't posting it, okay, maybe that's not the thing. But your friend that you DJ with all the time should. And you should do that in kind. Absolutely. You never know where that's going to lead you.
Absolutely. Yeah, I had mentioned, you know, support, show up to the events, but you brought up a really good point that we always tell people. Definitely repost our flyers. If you can't make it to every event, you know, do some promo for them. Make it easy too. Either send them the flyer, tag them in the story, you know, make it really, you know, super easy for them to know that you know, are sharing and stuff like that. So that's absolutely, in this day and age that we're all digital, it's a great way to show people that you're behind them and you have their back.
And your set lists.
Sorry, go ahead.
Set lists. Post your set lists. Show that and tag
Smart.
the people that you've been playing. That used to be like a thing. We used to have bins, but now no one posts them. Show people what you're playing. That are the artists will see that you are playing their music. They will thank you.
Absolutely.
99% of the time, they'll be like, I didn't know you were playing my record. Thank you so much for that.
I've actually slid into people's DMs because they've reposted like times that I play their music, and I slid into their DMs and be like, hey, like, can I get tickets to this event? And it's worked. Every time I've done it, it's worked. So I know there's a question at SoundCollective, so we'll give you a couple minutes for that, and then we'll do a quick closing.
Okay. I don't know. I mean, I can also project my voice as well, so I'm not sure if I'm heard.
We can hear you.
Okay, perfect. My name is Danielle. I'm from Brooklyn. I've been DJing for 8 months. And the question that Monique had previously was similar to what I had. I was also a booking coordinator for a venue in New York. And one of my colleagues told me as a DJ, if you want to get out there, to create your own event. I'm in the process of doing that right now. So aside from bringing on other DJs that already have a following to build up that, to build a want for people to come out to the event, what are some other suggestions that anyone can offer in terms of me pretty much being green and going to a venue saying, hey, I want to do this event, but I don't really have that much backing behind me, if that makes any sense?
I'll jump in really quick just because we've been doing this and it's something that I really want to do moving forward for every event. Fundraising. So maybe finding a organization that you can partner with, you know, in your community that you can fundraise for, and you can say, you know, a portion of these tickets, whatever. Be very transparent with what you're doing, of course, and fundraise for that organization. People love that. And I threw an event in December actually where we were fundraising for a nonprofit. And, you know, people were showing up. There were walk-ins, and I'd tell them the cover, and they'd make a face, and then I'd say, look, man, it's for this cause. And immediately everyone would pay. There's really no argument when, you know, their actual money is going for something good and it's effortless for them. So that's one way. And another way that we're utilizing a lot is partnering with local entrepreneurs, people who are hustling, vending things, artists. We had a piercer, a tattooist, a tattoo artist. So, you know, people in your community that are also, you know, grinding and trying to come up and sharing their art and their, you know, their gifts and trying to, you know, build something. You know, they'll come to your event and sell their things, make it a great vibe, and also invite people, right? Because they're going to be promoting as well. So those are kind of two avenues that we've kind of been utilizing at the events that we do. But if anyone else would like to share.
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback off of that. I think that's a great idea, Fatima, you know, to kind of get people to come. But just to dial back to what Lainey said, you mentioned he, she, they. Brains is such a good friend of mine. He's a dear friend, and Sophie's really sweet as well. And I think, you know, knowing him, and he started that party because he saw there was a hole in the market and he wanted to help, underrepresented artists rise up. And I think that the key of starting something new is to be doing something new and have a sense of community. Because if you have that sense of community, then people will come. They want that. We're all human. And there are very, so if you see there's something new, there's something special, and you bring that heart to your event, people will come and they'll show up and they'll pay, honey. So I think, based on, there's a lot of different ways to go about it. But for me, that's like, if I'm going to a new upcoming event that's brand new, I'm like, okay, let me go check it out. And there's people there, they're having fun. They're being themselves. They feel comfortable, or, for me, that's special. It makes me want to go back again.
And I'll throw this in there if you want. If it's something that, like, there are community events that happen that will bring you hundreds, if not thousands of attendees. I know people who have thrown after New York City Marathon events, like a block or two away from Central Park where the finish line is, specifically because they know people will go someplace immediately after to eat, drink, or just hang out with the runners and stuff like that. There is the night run that's popular around the country, which is like they dress up in different kinds of like neon war paint and stuff. And there are DJs along the route. Contact them. It's a vibe thing. They don't care. Like, there's not specific genres.